What's up guys, this is MA569, and today's video is going to be the match between TeamTeamTeamTeam and BadBoyHalo and his minions. TeamTeamTeamTeam, or TTTT for short, is the pink team, and BadBoyHalo and his minions are going to be called minions from here on out, and they are the red team. As you can see from the tab, it is a 6v6. Both teams have 6 players, and this is fairly unusual, but both teams had agreed to it, which I think is going to make for quite an interesting game, as this has not been done before, and I'm very interested to see how the different teams decided to structure their strategy. There is another mod who was going to spectate or just derp around here, but he's going to leave, and everyone is still a Steve, so we've got a random Steve admin over here, BadBoyHalo, because all admins are Steve and therefore random. Heading over to see what TTTT is up to. They're setting up the same thing as before, and they're very coordinated with their crafting tables. They've got 4, so they've got a clear advantage here, whereas minions only have 1 crafting table, which is going to be quite a big disadvantage, but I'm getting off topic. Knowing TTTT, I am willing to put money on them deciding to either go defensive or another similar late game strategy. However, the bases are fairly close. There's a pretty long straightaway with only one wall in between, really, and if either team wanted, they could easily run out and find the other base fairly quickly. Fortunately, the track compass was agreed upon to not use for this match, and that definitely has restricted a lot of people's offensive strategies. I'm willing to bet that no one is planning to do an offensive strategy, even though the maze has effectively given you a very good offensive option. Nevertheless, let's just see what they're up to. Both teams do have a green thumbs. They have a player who has the green thumbs ability, and that's pretty common in these team matches. Even with 4 people and with 6, giving one person green thumbs is not really going to cost you much. BadBoyHalo decides to run in the maze, and I was thinking he was a gear grinder kit, but it turns out he's more of a PvP oriented kit. And so if he wants to be going in the maze, he definitely should be taking along a gear grinder buddy, or else he's not going to get much stuff from the chests. Checking back in TTTT, it looks like they've all decided to leave their base as soon as they spawned. Teleporting to the wrong guy because I'm a bit of a derp. Looks like red minions do have a furnace, which is also always really good. So over here, they've all decided to go a 6-man hunt in the maze, and they haven't really gone for hunting because they've gone the complete opposite direction of red, which, if it was by design, that's very good. They could have figured it out with layouts, though. This is the T2 server, and so it's kind of a normal structure, and we're at about 400, so if you went further south, you were very unlikely to run into other bases. So either way, they've managed to essentially go in the maze without having to worry about minions whatsoever, and now they're free to gear grind and get as much stuff as they want. They're kind of close to another dead base, and they might use that during the night if they wanted. But checking back in with red, they've also decided to go into the maze. I kind of derped and forgot to invis, but then I think it's just because it's we're both staff, and yeah, kind of a bit of a derp. Anyways, fortunately I drink an invis pot, so now I am. That aside, both teams have decided to stick together, which is a pretty good strategy in case you run into someone. TTTT probably would have benefited from splitting up since they knew they were if they knew that they were going to be a ways away from red, then splitting up would have been better to put 1 gear grinder with each. But they didn't do that. They've also got a furnace, and they're kind of chilling out in gray base. And I'm not totally sure why they're here exactly. They might have gotten something they wanted from the chests. I'm not totally sure. Ace is telling me off again. But they don't have too much gear, but they are a fair ways away. Red is minions are just leaving their base. There's a pinata party kind of happening, but this is a bit more important to us. Red is kind of near the Griever hole. They might be able to find that and then from there orient themselves and figure out how to kind of base jump. It looks like BadBoyHalo is taking the lion's share of the armor, and that's probably a good thing considering he does have a PvP kit. I don't know the kits of everyone, I didn't check them beforehand, but there are about, 2 people, I think there was 3 who have no armor, and while BadBoyHalo is rocking probably half armor, and now it looks like Diatomic and I think it's Oshidink have some good offensive, some good gear. It looks like Diatomic is also a PvP kit, so he definitely should be having armor, especially since he's got a tank kit with resistance and health too. Checking back in with TTTT, they're still chilling at their base. The Princess is kind of unguarded, which is a little bit of a risk. Last thing they want is someone to just blitz in and kill their Princess while they are, derping around somewhere else. Checking us Tenshirox's kit. Looks like he's got an anti-Griever kit. He's elected for Regen 2 instead of Vampiric, which I think is a pretty good thing. The problem with Vampiric is it requires you to get a kill, and especially in a 6-man team, you can easily not get a kill. Checking Soviet Bacons, he's got, I use this kit a lot, I call it Medic, I don't know what he calls it. But Regen 2 and Health 3 is a pretty good combo. It's got some nice synergy because it gives you a high health pool, and especially in a team like this, a high health pool is what you really want. And I think that's if he can capitalize on that. So what he needs to do is, get hit a few times, but be on the front lines. And when he gets hit once or twice, just back off and let his teammates take some damage while he regens. And then he'll be at full health or almost full health, and that'll be really good for him. Looks like TTTT has elected to stay in the maze as well, which is a pretty good strategy. That's something they've done a lot, and it will really pay off. Whereas minions have decided to stay in their base. It looks like BadBoyHalo has been a bit more sharing and generous. So he's got a little bit less armor, but he still definitely has the better armor. So I'm willing to bet that their strategy is to have him go first with his resistance and vampiric traits, hoping to get some damage in, get a kill, soak up the hearts, and then keep going until he goes out. So cool is just going to keep green thumbsing because you do need food. TTTT does not seem to be so worried for food, but I'm willing to bet that they're finding enough in the chest to make it worthwhile. I don't even know if their green thumbs kit was necessary, but it is there, and it's a nice thing to fall on, and you aren't required to find stuff in the maze chest, which could be tricky when you're trying to feed 6 people and a very hungry princess. So I checked Wiz's kit, and she's got this exact same kit that, what was it? I think it was Soviet Bacon? No, not him. Yeah, I think it was him. She's got the exact same kit as another one of them. And what they can do with that is they can actually trade off, which is something that I've thought about doing. And I'll get to that more later, and I kind of derp and TP over to Red instead of watching what could be an interesting Griever fight. Because Red isn't really doing much at the moment. They're just chilling at base. This is the price you pay when you decide for safety in the glade instead of hunting Grievers, is that you don't get much done, and so you can see a lot of people still have like no armor or half an armor bar or 1 armor bar. That isn't really going to help them. Just kind of flying over the maze just to kind of get a feel of where they are in relation to each other. TTTT is definitely on the other side of the maze than minions, and they are not going to have to worry about them for a long time. I'm not actually finding them right now because, well, I'm kind of smart like that. But anyways, they're over here, nearly the opposite side. Like I said, I think they just need to go a little bit more west, but they have been going quite west, and with minions in base and not going far, they will not run into them anytime soon, which I'm sure is their strategy by now, as I'm fairly confident they're going for the late game advantage. I don't know if they're planning to rush today or tomorrow, because there is the chaos round you have to take into consideration, and it becomes significantly more risky to be out in the maze during said chaos round than it is to be, well, in a sky base, or, you know, the victors. I do not know their plan, but I'm willing, with 6 people, it could be a lot easier to survive the chaos round than it is to survive it with, you know, 1 or 2 or even 4 people. Sorry for hitting tab so much, it's just something I do. Anyways, over to So Cool 21. Looks like they have found TTTT's base. They are in pink, and they're gonna kind of hide there, is what it looks like. They're kind of shifting around the house, hoping that their name tags aren't going to be seen. I wonder if they've taken into account the princess. They have blocked her off, which I kind of see in a bit, but take my word on that for a minute. But they're all shifting, like they're trying to not get noticed. But their princess will be noticed as soon as TTTT were to come within the doors or something. They wouldn't get close in. This is an official Maze Runner team. They would probably not think to just blitz Red's princess. Now what's kind of going on here is they're all kind of huddling into this house area and shifting, and they've left their princess relatively unguarded but behind walls, so I'm willing to bet the minions' plan is to bait TTTT into blitzing the princess and then opening the floor and just dropping down on top of them, and, well, surrounding them instantly and killing a few of them, if not all of them, from the surprise attack, which, as we all know, surprise attacks are very powerful in Maze, and with the princess behind the wall, it's very unlikely that one will be able to get in and kill the princess before the minions can ambush them. They do have to contend with someone just shifting and just skirting around the edges there, and they could get in there and it would be far too late for minions to do anything about it. However, TTTT is on the other side of the maze. They're at what, 200, 400, and I've totally forgotten what Red was at. Pink base, I can cheat and look at my coordinates. They're at about 430, so 30 and 400, so they're what, 100 blocks Z, and they're 200 blocks X. So it looks like Ace is the support kit with green thumbs and healthy food, and healthy food is kind of a tricky one because in 1v1s it's not as useful, but if you are Griever hunting, it can be useful because a lot of times Grievers will just track their princess and ignore all the players, and they'll just run through and occasionally just get a hit or two on the princess, and the last thing you want is to just die because you're in the maze a while and you guys are doing great, you know, you've got all your anti-Griever kits, except they just keep tracking the princess and they keep just going straight to the princess. Looks like Blake Callahan also has a anti-Griever kit, so from everything, I'm willing to bet the healthy food is going to come in handy for when the Grievers do inevitably decide to stalk the princess and completely ignore the players. It also looks like the floor in Minions is open, so they don't have to worry about digging it out. They can just jump down, which is definitely going to speed things up. However, it could hurt them a bit because they can't really get a flank from that side and that side alone. I think they just gave up on this strategy for right now, which is probably for the best. it is getting dark, and they'll have to decide if they want to go out and get some gear or not, because they're very lacking on gear. TTTT definitely has much more gear, and has much more gear than minions. And please stand by. So they are stuck in the glade. That means this is going to be another night in which TTTT will be able to griever farm. And this is also night 2, so the loot is better. It looks like Tenshirox, Wiz, Blake Callahan are all trying to gang up on this griever, and it sets them on fire. But they do have a water bucket, because water bucket is OP. And as you can see right now, they're kind of just ganging up on the griever, while Ace and looks like DirectGamer is guarding the princess. But what they should do is take it to just about 3 to 4 blocks behind the edge and kind of derping the compass game, because if you're 3 to 4 blocks behind, they won't peg you with arrows, but if you're that far back, they can. And the last thing you want is to die because a griever gets through the defenses and then just shoots a bunch of arrows and hits the princess a bunch of times, or hits you a bunch of times. And as soon as the healthy food person is out, you can't heal the princess again, so you definitely don't want that to happen. And Ace still does not have a lot of armor, so she could be killed in probably 4 arrow shots, which would be a bad thing. They definitely have quite a good, they're quite set up for gear. They've got leather and more. Checking back in with Red just to see if anything has happened. They decided to mine out the stone area. BadBoyHalo is collecting the fences now. I'm unsure of what they're planning to do with this. They put the princess in a nice little box for whatever reason. It's not really necessary since the walls are closed, but they might be planning to kind of try a similar bait strategy, just more out in the opening. I'm not sure. Anyways, they're kind of just derping around, and I'm just gonna go derp and try to find TTTT without TP, and I find them there because they've been kind of working their way back to their own base. And they're getting attacked by grievers there, and the griever does get a couple hits on the princess right there, and that's where the healthy food comes in handy. And they definitely are set for gear. Wiz has diamond pants, and that will mean she's got a great advantage. And remember, she and Sylvia Bacon have the health 3 and regen 2, and so what's good about that is those two will really synergize with the extra armor, and it creates this snowballing effect because you're taking less damage from the armor, but you regen at the same rate, at the same triple increased rate. And all they need to do really is just take a few hits and then back off and let their teammates basically delay them, and they can essentially wipe the floor clean with just the 2 of them. Heck, I mean, 2 of them could probably take out a team of 4 with that. All they gotta do is just one person goes, and when they get down to 4 hearts, they just back up when the other person goes and takes the hits. So if they can really work together well, they can get that. They can really capitalize on that. Time will tell if they manage to pull it off. But it looks like minions have elected to head back to their own base. They are getting a bit better gear. This is day 3, so they will be pulling some better stuff. And at this point, it could go either way. Minions are definitely outclassed by armor, but not as much. I haven't checked the kits to see how much synergy they have with each other, or and because of that, I don't know their overarching plan, or what their plan should be, at least. But suffice to say, they've got a couple of good PvPers, and they've got some good PvP kits, so this could go either way. Checking back in with TTTT, they seem to be heading back to their own base. Direct seems very suspicious of this house, and I wonder if they've realized that minions have been here, or are planning to head back in. Now, unfortunately, the straight line of sight isn't there anymore, so they can't just rush Red, unfortunately. But I managed to lose them yet again as they decided to go back out into the maze once again. They're going for really late game strategy right now. This would actually be considered risky because they are going to have to contend with the chaos round if they don't get the round, if they don't finish the match by nightfall, and that could go either way. The last thing they want is to lose a player or two, especially the healthy foods girl or the PvP guy, well, or girl, and so it's going to be risky. Whereas it looks like minions are not going to take as much risk. Looks like So Cool's green thumbsing BadBoyHalo. And it looks like Pluto 1099 has a similar PvP kit as Diatomic, but damage instead. So they've got 3 PvPers, little PvP kits, compared to, well, 3 strong direct PvP kits compared to TTTT's moderate PvP with the regen and health 3. Now, like I said, it is definitely not a weak kit that Wizard and Soviet are using. It's definitely strong. They just have to use it right, and it'll be far stronger than any of them. As you can see, they've got full iron armor over there. What's her face? Wizard still has her diamond pants, and so I think they are definitely far outclassing minions in terms of armor by this point. And they're fairly close. They could, if they got lucky, they could, manage to get in the base. And they aren't really paying attention, minions. That is, they aren't really paying attention. So it looks like they could even get a surprise jump. There is a bit of lag going on. I hope it's not too bad for you guys to watch. For me, it's just a couple people jumping around, but I'm not playing, so it kind of, it works. Just checking the time. They've got a little bit of time. They could still make it, but I don't think they're overly keen on wanting to PvP in the lag, and PvP fights in lag always suck. They suck majorly. So yeah, everyone's lagging. It's probably a server thing. I don't know if it's just the 6 people or whatnot. But TTTT has elected not to rush in after red. I don't know if they know red is there. I think they were close enough to get some name tags, but I'm not totally certain. Rather than that, it looks like they're going to just camp here for the night. Like I said, this is risky, especially with the lag. All it needs is the Reaver to just kind of lag in and around and just get a few shots on the Princess, and they could be dead. So this is definitely going to be a bit of a risk for them, but at the same time, it can get them some really nice gear, as Chaos Round gear is the best. There's a chest over there, and I'm kind of wishing they would notice it. It's irking me that they aren't. There's a Griever right there. He's just going to rush the Princess right now. And Princess is on fire, unfortunately. And, unfortunately, the Grievers do die. Direct is on fire somehow. I think the lag is starting to kick in. Grievers are all over the place here. Okay, there's only 4, but 4 Grievers, especially Chaos Round Grievers, can be a lot. And they didn't explode, which is a good thing. An explosion could have really ruined their day, giving the Princess a lot of damage, or it hurt them. But they do luck out here. There's 4, is that 3 or 4? That's 4 Grievers that their pathing kind of derped up, and they aren't realizing this fairly long route they would have to take. All over there, I'm kind of tracing with my mouse. It's a fairly long one, and they just aren't realizing it, which is for TTTT's benefit. There's one over here that you can see it, but just one isn't going to pose much threat. Diamond pants, diamond boots, full armor guy. I mean, Blake Callahan is the least armored there is, and he's still not going to die anytime soon. Going back to minions, they've just decided to go with some simple walls, which is even more risky strategy if you ask me, as all it takes is a couple Grievers and they can blow up the walls, which they have here. And then they set fire to the wool, and Princess is in the house, and the house is made of wood. Griever manages to get in and sets a few things on fire, but nothing too dramatic. They have to contend more with the open hole in the door and the fire on the wool more. Now, that fire is spreading, but it looks like who's that? Is that BadBoyHalo and bscherrer? I think that's how you pronounce his name. They're starting to put out the fires. So Cool is helping by towering with wood, which is never the smartest idea around fire. And fortunately, the Grievers do decide to leave them alone for the most part. I think those Grievers are trying to path to them, but same thing as before, it's too long of a route and they just aren't realizing it. But yeah, it looks like they're put out the fires. There's a few fires they won't be able to put out, namely the ones on the top. But the fire isn't going to affect them as much. And it is day, where the Grievers aren't going to explode anymore. And it's day, the TTTT managed to survive even through the lag. They managed to survive, and they took no casualties, so it is still definitely a 6v6. And with all the armor, TTTT has a clear advantage over minions. You can kind of see red over there, the flames of red, that is. And you can see pink off to the right here, so TTTT is still quite a ways out. They could drag the fight out a little bit longer if they wanted, but it'd be pretty risky because then they take the risk of, well, they run the risk of minions going around and getting a couple handfuls of armor. And right now they've got around gold armor except for the Princess Carrier, but I don't think he's not planning to do much fighting based on, well, carrying the princess and the low armor. But they could get, some iron gear if they, if they ran out and got some gear before TTTT rushed them. So I would, if I were TTTT, I would think they should be rushing, checking the shatters. He's got another damage and PvP kit, so that's 4 PvP kits. And we know that So Cool's the 1 support kit, so I'm willing to bet that the Princess Carrier, whoever that is that So Cool? I don't think it is. Not sure actually, but it looks like they're going to have 1, maybe 2 support kits, which could be bad. As we've seen, they don't have much for gear grinding, and they've really paid the price for hovering around gold armor instead of the iron plus that TTTT has. Look at Tenshirox. He's got 2 gold. No, that's Sylvia Bacon there. He's got gold, diamond pants and boots. And, Wiz still has her diamond gear. So it looks like TTTT has decided to go on the offensive. They've decided to leave their blade and they're heading towards minions, at least where they think minions should be, and minions are heading towards TTTT. They meet in the maze right about here. BadBoyHalo gets knocked to the side, he gets killed. Minions are getting flanked by TTTT, and now the TTTT is pushing forward and they start killing them all. And then the last minion dies right there. Osudank was killed by Blake Callahan using the Sexy Bike Light Kit. And it is a flawless victory for TTTT, taking no casualties, suffering no great losses. In my eyes, that was a very good fight and a very well executed strategy on TTTT's part. So looking back at the fight, BBH was isolated and killed off pretty quickly. He was probably too eager for the fight and jumped the gun on it, but now the minions are flanked and they're stuck in a choke point where TTTT can hit them all, but they can't hit TTTT as well. Now TTTT is pushing forward and get the win, and there you can see one of them gets some vampiric health from the chicken, but the biggest health pools are in fact Wizard and Sylvia with the regen 2 and health 3. I hope you enjoyed this match. I enjoyed it myself. I'm sure both TTTT and the minions enjoyed playing it. If you did like it, please give it a like or subscribe to the channel. Even if you don't, stay tuned for round 2 of BadBoyHalo and his minions versus Team coming soon. And as always, see ya around. Ciao.